Hello and welcome back to the Everything F1 podcast. My name is Sean, and joining me this evening to review the Austrian Grand Prix is James. Good evening, James.
Good evening. How we doing?
I'm in good form. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. It's nice to be back. Been away for a couple of weeks. It's good to
Yep,
be
great.
chatting
Great to
F1
have you
again.
back. Great to have you back indeed. And we also have Coops as always. How are you, Coops?
I'm doing all right. Thank you.
Good, good, good. We are Everything F1. You can find us on all socials, Facebook, Instagram, X and Threads at JoinEF1 and TikTok at EF1 Official. You can also check out our website, everythingf1.com, for daily news and articles for all things motorsport, not just F1. And be sure to check out our fantastic sponsors, theraceworks.com, for all of your F1 motorsport merch and use code EF1 at checkout for 10% off site wide. We are also still doing a giveaway on our YouTube channel. When we reach 500 subscribers, and then again when we reach 1,000, we'll be giving away a Lego F1 Speed Champion set to one lucky subscriber. So all you have to do, if you're listening on YouTube, hit subscribe, and if you're not, head over to our YouTube, Everything F1, all one word, and hit subscribe there. Ring the notification bell so you get notified when we're going live. We stream all of our podcasts live on YouTube now, so we'd love to get you more involved in that. Share your thoughts, share your opinions, and get more involved there. And subscribe, and you might win yourself a Lego F1 Speed set. So then, Austria, let's get into it. I believe I said last week that Austria would probably be the best race of the year so far. And would anyone like to dispute me on that one?
No.
Nope, I didn't think so. James, what were your thoughts of it?
I was just trying to think of the other races. I thought it was decent. It wasn't fantastic, but it was. I always think Austria creates good action. The three DRS zones keeps the cars close, and they breaking and like there's overtaking opportunities. So it's always a good race. I thought the McLarens obviously it was an interesting one because you think the top of the shorter circuit it should close the gap between the field, and it did to a certain extent. But the McLarens just in a world of their own, really. I think it's that those high temperatures really help them with their tyre wear and their tyre performance. So it was a good race, though. I enjoyed it, and I always look forward to Austria because you know there's going to be action, even if it's not over the top. So it was a good race. There'll be lots to talk about. So, but it was good. I'm just trying to think of the other races this season. Maybe it was the best one. I just can't think of any of the other ones.
Says a lot of the rest of them, doesn't it?
Yeah, true, actually.
Coops, what were your initial thoughts of Austria?
Oh, it's pretty exciting. Not if you're a McLaren fan for the first 15, 20 races. Laps, I should say. That was decent. And if you didn't like Max Verstappen, you enjoyed it. Perfect. Three corners. Uh, so yeah, plenty to discuss, I suppose. I think it's clear what we're looking at for the rest of the season in terms of championship for the drivers. I think you just give McLaren the constructors title now. I don't think that's up for the debate. But other than that, yeah, pretty decent.
Yeah, well, let's jump straight into that. Obviously, this is, I suppose, the battle we've been waiting for, such as it was all season, since we pretty much knew that it would be McLaren versus McLaren really for the championship. And I know Max said a couple of weeks ago he was out of it, but I think he's really out of it now. And we'll get on to him in a little bit. But the huge portion of the action this weekend came from the McLarens. Thankfully, they didn't hit each other this week, although Oscar was told to stop because he very nearly did. James, what did you make of the McLaren battle and Lando's defending? I think we'll talk about that one first. He kept his cool in this time around in Austria.
Yeah, I think he showed his racecraft actually. Obviously, the reason Oscar had the chance to overtake was a small mistake from Lando through the final corner, which I think Oscar also did, but not to to a bit larger extent. But I thought Lando was cool under pressure, did a nice switchback to take the position again out the exit of turn three, and it was nice to see them. And actually, it was good to see that they were clearly battling, but they were also clearly giving each other space. You could very much see that teammate battle, but I thought it was great, and I thought Lando did a fantastic job. He did what was needed, and actually it was this time with for Oscar being looking a little bit desperate at times. So I thought it was a great battle, and I really enjoyed the first 20 laps as well. I must admit, I was watching with my dad, and he was getting extremely uncomfortable as the McLarens got too close to each other. But I think this is what we want to see at the beginning of the front of the field. We can't be seeing them calling off the battles. And I think the McLaren drivers are both going to be respectful of each other and actually want to battle in that way. So I thought it was fantastic. Fantastic. And Lando showed his racecraft beautifully to really hold off Oscar and then semi disappear.
Yeah, absolutely. Closes the fight back up again. They're only 15 points between them now, so good kind of comeback from Lando. Coops, what did you make of it? There was some calls afterwards saying that, oh, the McLaren, the team wall, they let them race and then they knocked out the competition between them by leaving Oscar out. Personally, I actually think they did the right thing. They let them race, and then as soon as it got to the point where it was getting hairy and we were 5 centimeters away from a Ferrari 1-2, they pitted Lando straight away, left Oscar out to deal with his flat spot for an extra lap, and artificially or strategically kind of nullified the battle between them for kind of the midpoint of the race until they started closing in on each other. What did you make of Oscar's kind of comeback towards it? His fight, should he have got past Lando sooner? And did McLaren make the right call by leaving Oscar out an extra lap or two?
Well, that was smart call by the race engineer from Norris, because I think almost as soon as the flat spot happened, they
They called
shouted
him in.
box box.
Yeah.
Uh, and that, I think what you've got to do is basically applaud McLaren, because that pretty much shows that they're allowed to race. They're effectively two separate teams if they're together.
Mm.
Race engineer has the call to make the decision, and Piastri has to react to it. And if it was Piastri at front and Norris had flat spotted the tyre and Piastri's, it's still, although it's the constructors, and I think because there's such a gap in the constructors between McLaren and the rest of the field, they're allowed to just let them get on with it. Because let's face it, I mean, even Zach Brown, who might stand there and do the PR thing and say, still have the season to go, you don't know. I mean, they're getting the constructors, so they're getting their money.
They're
So,
207 points clear already.
yeah, and we're at just coming up to the halfway point. I've just hit it. It's obscene. Uh,
Have we even hit it yet?
I think
I think next
No,
week
no.
is the
this is the
race
halfway.
12 is the halfway, yeah.
I mean, note to Red Bull, this is what happens when you have two
Yeah.
drivers that can get points. So maybe design your car for both drivers, just a wee bit.
Well,
Uh,
to put it another way, McLaren won the title last year with 666 points. They're already two-thirds of the way there, and we're not even at half distance of the season yet.
right, do you think they can get close to 1,000?
Oh, yes, I do. If the two of them keep performing like this and don't hit each other, yeah, I think there's a record to be broken here.
1,000
So
points would be pretty cool.
Which I'm
that
going
would
to try
be,
and
yeah,
figure out what that would be. It's probably six or 700 and something. Is it 860 for Red Bull is probably it in 2023. Right.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to beat because they
Go
won
back a few
every
more
single
years.
race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think did Mercedes come anywhere close to that. Keep chatting, I'll figure that one out. Um, what the other thing obviously from McLaren this weekend was Lando said it in the press afterwards that he might give Alex Dunn his car every weekend because he set it up well. Alex, obviously, congratulations to him, making Ireland proud, first Irish-born driver to take part in an F1 event since 1982, which is insane. Ralph Furman raced under an Irish license in 2003, but he was British born. Just, you know, need to
doing
cover all
that.
the bases there. But impressive performance for him. James, we had two rookies in the cars this weekend, Dino Beganovic as well in the Ferrari. Um, did you see much of them? Did you make much of them?
Yeah, I caught a bit of FP1, so I didn't watch the whole thing, but I think Alex starting to come into. I know obviously Austria is a relatively simple track, and I think that was part of the reason why they put him in the car. The first time he put him in the car, a track that he'd known relatively easy to get on top of, but to be less than a tenth behind Oscar in that McLaren is a real great show of strength from Dunn, and he's really come on the last. Obviously, he struggled in F3 a little bit last year, didn't he? But McLaren still signed him, and he's been fantastic in F2 this year. So I think he's been full of confidence, and I think performances like that in FP1 is what get you drives the year after. I don't know what the contract situations are looking like for next year, but potential Cadillac or something, somewhere.
Mm.
I saw Karun Chandok said that they should loan him out somewhere, but I think those are the sort of performances that get you drives the next year, and I think you just got to keep going from that. And Yeah, Oscar said he no. So Lando said he gave some great feedback and it was set up the car. So I don't think it could have gone any better for him, to be honest. Yeah, fantastic. And obviously, Bogdanovic, unfortunately, to be stuck in the pits for the first 30 minutes and came 18th, I believe. So I didn't see too much of him, I must admit. But I think Alex Dunn stole the headlines, and it's just another great step for his development and his potential route into Formula One, I think.
Yep, absolutely. He got very, very unlucky in the F2 feature race as well. He climbed from seventh to second in what he said himself was probably his best Sunday in F2 and got really unlucky. He was disqualified for plank wear, which
Mm.
is just an infuriating thing. Nothing to do with him. They set the car up too low on a track where you ride the curbs on every single corner. I mean, Roden are in a learning period this weekend, this year as well. I don't think they were quite expecting to have a driver competing for the title, and they are very much the Red Bull of Formula 2 at the moment. I think Alex has scored like 94% of their points or something like that. It's insane. He scored every single point for them. Yeah,
But
great to see
others
rookies.
didn't see others. Sorry, didn't others get disqualified as well for plank where it wasn't just
It wasn't
I
just
think it was
Alex.
like
No,
three
there
or
was a
four of
couple of
them,
them.
right?
Yeah, there
Mm.
was a fair few of them. Again, shows the maybe well, I was going to say it shows the difference between Formula One and Formula Two, but Ferrari did that literally this year, and Mercedes did it last year. So nobody is perfect. Can confirm that the 2023 Red Bull is the record to be beaten. I've just been scrolling through the past few years, and yes, Red Bull with 860 points in 2023 is the benchmark because Max won all but one race. Or Red Bull won all but one race that year. Yeah, which was insane. So that's the target to hit. And McLaren are pretty much halfway there already, or they will be if they have another 1-2 in Silverstone. So I think there is certainly a record to be beaten there. Let's move on to Ferrari. Really good weekend for them on paper, at least. A third and a fourth. Lewis Hamilton's best result in a race for Ferrari, a feature race, a main race for Ferrari. Charles Leclerc on the podium again. He's doing good stuff at the moment. He's just sort of there. I mean, they were miles off the pace of the McLarens, and I think Charles was told to lift and coast on like lap seven, which was insane. Their tire management in the heat is atrocious. But on paper, that is a very, very good haul of points for them, Coops, and they are now 1 point ahead of Mercedes. They've reclaimed second place with that result.
Uh, I don't know what the Italian is for this, but uh, as much as they're second, I think it was 30 seconds between top spot and Lewis Hamilton in fourth. Uh, and there was a video of him just standing looking at the timings and just shaking his head and walking off. It's like, what do you do? What did Ferrari do next? Uh, Fred Vasseur wasn't there at the weekend. Is it Jamie D'Ambrosio was the stand-in team principal? Personal reasons. People might speculate there's issues going on. Nothing else has been said other than personal reasons, so we just have to go with that. But I mean, on paper, as you say, they got third and fourth, and they've got to take some kind of pleasure in that. They're a point ahead of Red Bull. Taking their
Mercedes.
time, Mercedes, sorry. Uh, Mercedes had not a particularly great weekend at all, and we'll get to them. But again, it's just so underwhelming with the promises at the end of last season, with what they think they could do, and with Lewis Hamilton. He's getting there. I mean, he's what, 2/10 behind Leclerc. He's building, progressing, but you know, again, it's just so meh from them at the minute. You want them to actually do something, and they're just not.
Yeah, the gap between Hamilton and Leclerc in qualifying, Leclerc set a 104.492 in Q3, and Hamilton set a 104.582, so just shy of a tenth between them, but that's worth two positions, an entire row on the grid. And obviously, because Lando Norris stormed ahead of a lot of them, he was 6 tenths, more than 6 tenths actually behind Lando Norris. Um, and
I mean,
that qualifying lap.
in context of that, first to 20th was less than a second. I think it was 0.92 something in
In
qualifying.
In Q1,
Q1,
yeah.
first to 20th, Lando set a 104.6 and Nico Hulkenberg set a 105.6. So 105 104,672, 105,606. So just like 9.7, 0.97 of a second kind of thing. So yeah, it's less than a second between first and 20th. So it's very close in qualifying, which is what we want to see. And the wheelie bins aren't really wheelie bins anymore, which we'll get onto as well. Excuse me. Let's move on to Mercedes then. Um, an awful weekend for them, all things considered. George Russell continues his form of finishing fifth almost all the time just by appearing there at the end of the race. But you'd be forgiven for thinking he wasn't in it because
Hmm.
he was a minute off the pace. And he was the second last person to not be lapped, which is insane. In a Mercedes that won 2 weeks ago comfortably on pure pace. Now, they've said this for quite a while, particularly under the ground effect era, that their car doesn't work in the heat, but this was embarrassing. And we could talk about George being so far off, and then we have to talk about Kimi Antonelli doing the second Mercedes bowling pin into the hairpin moment, repeating Bottas from Hungary. So I suppose, James, somewhat Mercedes. Where do they go from here? They might pray that it absolutely pisses rain and it's freezing cold in Silverstone this weekend to make up for that.
Yeah, but I think they followed the trend that they've been following this year, haven't they? With when it's with the heats, the temperature rises, they don't seem to be anywhere. And yeah, 62 seconds back on a what 1 minute 10, 1 minute 11, like a 70 second lap time is yeah, it's pretty shocking. And but I think unfortunately for them, I think that's what they were expecting. He was just in no man's land the whole race in his own race. And then Antonelli, yeah, rookie mistake really out. I mean, it looked like he was caught out by the cars braking in front of him, locks his rears and takes out Verstappen. I saw a great meme and it was Toto Wolff saying, obviously there's that clause in Verstappen's potential clause in Verstappen's contract that if he's a certain amount of points off the championship lead, he'll break. He has a breakaway clause. I saw that it was sort of like a Toto Wolff whispering into Anthony's ear. You know what you need to do, which I thought was quite funny. But I think it was just one of those rookie errors. Obviously caught out by people breaking in front of him. Tried to take avoiding action. Unfortunately, Verstappen was the driver that he hit. So I must admit, it wasn't massively surprising. I think 62 seconds on a 70-second lap. I think that's what they're going to be worried about. But hey, there is supposed to be a bit of mixed weather in Silverstone next weekend. So I think for their sake, they're going to really hope it's going to be a bit colder. But yeah, I think unfortunately that's the trend they've got for this car, and I don't see too many more upgrades happening. I know Ted said that McLaren's potentially last upgrade of the year. So I think this is going to be the trend as unfortunately the races are probably going to get hotter until I don't know they're all hot I think until the end of the season, to be honest. It could be a bit of a struggle for them, but not wholly unexpected, but I don't think that makes it any easier for them, I must admit.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. It's funny the memes around Toto, but Max, to his credit, came out immediately. Kimi went over and apologized to him. Max did not seem all that bothered, actually, to be all that honest with him. I think he has written off
mm.
this year's title already, and I think he had done a couple of weeks ago. But he didn't come out and shit on Kimi. I think if it was George, it would have been a completely different story entirely. But he brushed it off at least publicly with a smile on his face, saying, "Look, it's a rookie error. Everybody's made those errors." I am sure Monaco 2015 was probably in his head when he did exactly the same thing as a rookie. So it happens. It's a rookie error. It's a bad one. It doesn't look great, but it is a rookie error. And to be perfectly frank, Kimi hasn't had a big rookie error yet, so he was sort of due one. But yeah, not great for them. Yeah, Britain, I've heard there's going to be rain this weekend. Belgium will almost certainly rain. Hungary can always be 50-50, and Zandvoort can always be 50-50. So they might get a lucky run like they did last year with some cold races. But then we get to Italy, and if it rains in Italy, I want my money back. Baku, Singapore, Texas, Mexico, they have a really rough run into the end of the year because that is just all hot races back to back to back. So they better pray for rain for the next month and a half. Let's move on then to obviously the team that had, I think they were probably the second worst of the day. We get onto the worst, and you could probably guess who the worst is. I might be wearing their colors today. Um, the Red Bulls, Max obviously yeeted out of the race on lap one, but he qualified seventh behind Liam Lawson. He wasn't looking to be having a great race in Austria anyway, Coops, was he? And then Yuki Tsunoda. smashed into Colapinto, got a 10-second penalty, broke his wing, had to change his wing, finished last of the runners. And I know we like to think, okay, the second Red Bull car is awful. But it doesn't actually have, bowling pin magnets on it. There's no excuse for smashing into other cars like that and driving so clumsily. He might be slow, but he can't be racing like that. There was just a bad weekend for Yuki, I thought. What did you Red Bull will want to forget this one pretty quickly, won't they?
Yuki definitely will. I mean, uh, he was driving like someone who hasn't driven in Formula One for 5 years.
Hmm.
It was just clumsy. And look, we know that that second Red Bull's a poison chalice. It's pretty clear that it's designed for Max Verstappen to have a kind of loose rear end, and most drivers don't like loose rear ends. Max that's kind of his thing. And so they've got to adapt to it. But this weekend, it's just proven it's proven Helmut Marko and Christian Horner right as to why they chose Lawson over him.
Hmm.
Even though it didn't last and it was wrong, it's still right in a weird sense. Uh, I mean, he's not going to have a Formula One career next year. He's out at the end of the year. And then it's up to Red Bull to decide what they're doing. Probably Lindblad will get something, and Hadjar will probably move up. Hopefully they'll kind of dial out that loose rear end with the new regulations, and
They might
make it
have
just
to if
that.
they lose Max.
Well, that is something. There's speculation. I don't see it, but it's something they've got to think about, I suppose. But I think you look at. I was thinking about this when I was listening to another podcast, and just in general thinking about it. They've designed this car around Max Verstappen. No other driver can really understand it. And then they're not winning constructors, which is where the points are. Now, Ferrari had Michael Schumacher in the car, and he won everything. The second driver was the number two driver, and they were, you get too close to Michael, your brakes are going to have an issue. You're going to have to back off. I'm not saying that they had a wee button that made them crash. It was just like, slow down. The telemetry saying there's a problem. Uh, but they still won things. And even when Michael Schumacher, the year that he broke his leg, Eddie Irvine was extremely close to winning the title. Obviously, he had issues because he didn't want Eddie Irvine to win the first Ferrari championship and not Michael Schumacher. Uh, so, can they not design a car where they can get two drivers that can do well and use Max Verstappen's talent to just be that wee bit ahead? Because
Hmm.
what other driver can really match Max Verstappen in the same machinery? Like, properly match him, not occasionally be relatively close nearby. I don't think MD. I think there'll be some that will be close, but you're not going to have Max Verstappen and say George Russell in the same car in the same team. They don't like each other enough. It's just too much of a headache to deal with. Uh, but I don't see anybody else on the grid that could be on his level. So why wouldn't you do old school Ferrari? Build a car that's a wee bit aimed towards Max maybe, or give him preferential treatment and development. Make sure the second driver knows his place, but make it a decent enough car that everyone can drive it. I just don't understand the logic. And it's how many drivers are we talking that have tried to be the second driver? Perez, Albon, Gasly, Lawson, Sonoda is the five that I can think of, and none of them have came close.
No. And it brings back a question, as you said, that we raised a little while ago is, yeah, okay, Max Verstappen is a generational talent and he can pull stuff out of the car that nobody else can. But when he's finishing seventh, then not even he can, when he's qualifying seventh, then not even he can pull enough out of it. The RB, which is on paper and on results a worse car, out qualified Max Verstappen. We're in the hands of the guy who they deemed not good enough after two races because it's an easy as piss car to drive by Formula One standards.
Mhm.
It's a balanced car. It's a basic car. Does it have the highest downforce? No, it absolutely doesn't. Does it have the highest top speed? No, it absolutely doesn't. Does it have the best balance? Arguably, right now, yeah, it does. So the argument there is exactly it comes back to why can't they design a car that their second driver can drive to 100% or to 99%, and then let Max Verstappen use his generational talent to pull out that extra percent and blow the competition away. That's surely what generational talent means. It doesn't
Hmm.
mean that he has to have an impossible fucking car that only he can drive. Surely you put Max Verstappen in any car and he's going to do well in it. He is that kind of driver. And
Yep.
we can't say that about a lot of people, about a lot of talents, especially over history. You look at your Daniel Ricciardo couldn't do it in any car. Lewis Hamilton struggling to do it in any car. You put Max Verstappen in that Ferrari, he'll beat Charles Leclerc every weekend. I'm 100% convinced of it. He's that kind of talent. But I think they have to wise up and think, okay, maybe we do need to design a car for, Formula One drivers, not just Max Verstappen. Um,
And I think before we go on, I think that they're having to wise up now, even with the possibility, how slim it may be, that Max might leave.
mm.
Because could you imagine if they had the Red Bull cars designed for Max Verstappen and Max Verstappen's not driving them? Whoever they put in it will be just all over the ship, like me driving in Formula One in the PlayStation. So yeah, it's they need to look at it and maybe we move to the new generation of cars and Max can't drive them, a bit like the Ricardo situation with this generation of car, and he just isn't able to get that out it. I don't necessarily see it with Max. I think every other driver I'd be like, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Mm.
I'd be very surprised if Max struggles because he can't handle the car. Maybe the regulations were going to be absolute pants. I'm not 100% convinced on them myself. Uh, just the kind of conversations and the things that are kind of being drip fed out. Uh, so yeah, it's I think Red Bull need to look at a overall balanced car because look at McLaren. The
Mm.
car is balanced. It's just a good car.
And those two
It,
drivers have phenomenally different driving styles.
yep.
And both of them are fighting 30 seconds ahead of the rest for the same piece of tarmac and for the world championship in very different ways and in very different results, but there's only 15 points between them halfway through the season.
And
Um,
interestingly, with the McLaren, just to touch on the driving skill, Lando Norris has came out and said that for some reason every driver feels the cars in a different way. And what I mean by that is some drivers feel it through their bum and the way the car moves. Some do the legs. Lando's hands. So the signals that come from
hmm.
the car and things it does, he reacts using his hand. He's not getting those signals. And McLaren were able to make adjustments to front suspension geometry. Didn't make the car faster, doesn't make it slower, it just gives that better feedback. Uh, uh, Piastri, even in Canada, just decided, I don't need that. I don't need that upgrade because that's not what the car does for me.
Hmm.
And that's a very clear indication that they drive differently in terms of fuel. But they're able to design a car that both drivers can work with.
Well, that's the thing
And
as well. They're able to design two cars under the same core philosophy and the same core aero package, for want of a less technical term. But exactly that. If they rock up with a new wing or a new suspension and it makes it twitchy for Oscar that he doesn't like, he goes, "No, give me the other one back." Which hilariously Mark Webber used to do. Do you remember the not bad for a number two driver when he had the old wing and he still dominated? Was it Malaysia or China? He absolutely dominated the
Mhm.
weekend. Um,
Slammed down the glass and the whole place went quiet. Like,
Absolutely hilarious.
don't know what to
Um,
do now.
on the topic of the RBs, um, obviously Lawson qualified sixth and finished sixth. Qualified sixth, finished sixth. Really, really
Yeah.
great result for him. His best result in Formula One, if I'm not wrong. It's certainly his best result of the
Mm.
season. And what a perfect time for him to do that while Max is getting yeeted out of the race. Yuki is yeeting other people out of races. And Hajar had an off weekend, and he's been phenomenal for the whole season. And he had an off weekend, and Lawson picked up the pace, and uh, good time to do it. It's probably bought him a fair bit of time, James. You think? Not that I think they were going to sack him this year, but that keeps him. If he can keep performances like that, that keeps him maybe a little bit safe for a little bit longer into next year.
Yeah, I think it's perfect timing for him. I think he's This is two in a row. I think Hadjar didn't have the best weekend in Canada either.
Mm.
I can't remember if Lawson picked up some points there, but this is by far his best performance that we've seen in Formula One. Looked really solid all through qualifying. Put it sick, beat a Red Bull and a Mercedes in qualifying. Obviously, there was a few issues with the yellow flags, but they converted it. I think he was great in the race. Obviously, he lost out a little bit, and that turn three incident having to have avoid. His race could have been very different. He could have very easily just been taken out by Anthony. He was right in that sandwich, and I think I don't think many people were talking about the one stop being possible during the weekend, and him and Racing Bulls pulled it off. So perfect timing. See what happens for the rest of the year. He needs to keep doing that. I think when this Racing Bull's on it, it's really on it. It reminds me a little bit of 2008 with the Toro Rosso and the Red Bull, when the Toro Rosso was blowing the Red Bull out of the water as well. But
Mm.
I think it's funny because we saw Hadjar. Someone asked, one of the reporters asked him about the Red Bull seat, and he was openly quite nervous to say no, I don't really want to drive there, but he's happy where he is. And I think both of those drivers will probably feel the same way, that actually if I perform well, I'd much rather stay here than go to that Red Bull seat. So it could be interesting. See, they're probably both vying to stay in the Racing Bulls next year, but I think he just needs to keep doing that. And I think now he's starting to come to circuits that he's raced on before, and he said that tricky situation we said before when he basically was just racing on new circuits for the last 3 years because he was never doing a full season. So maybe this is him coming into his own tracks he knows. So yeah, great performance for him, and he had a bit of an off one for Hadjar. I thought. I think he qualified, was it 13th? Wasn't not horrendous for a racing bull, but not quite where they thought he would. He got caught out by the first corner, the third corner incident as well, but just wasn't able to make up as much time. But I think it's two pointless races for Hadjar, but he's still been the rookie of the season for me so far. But so yeah, great timing for great timing for Lawson, and I think the Racing Bull looks a good car. So it'd be interesting to see what they do. Both of them want to do with that. They might try and sandbag a little bit so they don't look too good to get into that second Red Bull seat, and let Tsunoda tough it out for another year. But great performance for them. The Racing Bulls look. I think that livery just makes it look even better as well. I think that's what it is. The livery's powering them through.
Well, long may that continue. It'd be great to see them get a few more points, and I just find it hilarious when they outscore Red Bull, like in the
Yes.
old Toro Rosso days. I'll join these two up because there's not much to talk about for Aston Martin because Lance Stroll finished 14th. I didn't even know he was in the race. Fernando Alonso finished 7th, breaking his points duck a couple of races ago has helped, and he's scoring some
Yeah.
regularly now. But he had a nice battle with his protege Gabriel Bortoleto, who scored his first points of the season, his first points in Formula One. Driver of the day, finished a phenomenal result, and his teammate Hulkenberg was right behind him in ninth, having started last. So Coops, to have a line on Fernando, and then let's talk about the not wheelie bins.
Well, Fernando Alonso was racing against Bortoleto, who is under Fernando Alonso's management company,
Yes, he is.
which is very interesting. But
You just
Fernando
know
will.
that if it, like Fernando was driving in those last few laps, thinking, "I know you can get me, kid. Come on, get me, get me, get me. I'm not going to make it easy, and I'm absolutely going to shut the door on you, but I know you can get me." And he was delighted for him, not getting him. But you just know that if Bortoleto had got him, Fernando would have been the happiest human in the world, thinking, "I told you this kid's good. He beat me."
Oh, I'd be in. You could hear him in the helmet as he's going by. Go, oh, shut up, man. That's easy. Be amazing. But yeah, Bortoleto, I think he's the rookie of the season for me. He was the one starting from way behind in a car that we all knew was a bit of a tractor. Sauber and Matteo Binotto have worked wonders to get things organised.
Mm.
Is Jonathan Wheatley the team principal in there, and Binotto's like the
Yeah.
CEO or something? So they're doing a wee bit like the McLarens. They're bringing in the right people. I think Audi should just next year just quietly go about their business. Let's have the fanfare. There's Audi, the new livery and the special thing on social media, and then just don't come out and go, oh, in 5 races or 5 years we'll get this and that. Don't, please don't. Look at Alpine. Let's not. Uh, so yeah, it was Alonso does Alonso things. Stroll does Stroll things, and the Salvos are just really good at the minute, which is very strange. It's a strange feeling.
Well, the upgrades they brought was at Spain, yeah. So Nico Hulkenberg had that sort of miracle seventh place in Australia, which was a good start to the season, and then they didn't score a single point. They didn't even get into anywhere close to the next best result was like 12th, I think. Um, yeah, 12th for Hulkenberg in Imola, and then 12th for Bortoleto in Spain. So it was a really, really bad run of form, but fifth in Spain for Hulkenberg, eighth in Canada, ninth in Austria, and now Bortoleto's off the mark. He's had a 12th, a 14th, and now an eighth in the past few weeks. So he's off the mark. He is not last, which is good. He's 19th in the 21 Driver Championship. Well, 21 for now. I predict there'll be more changes. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm a very, very big fan of Gabriel Bortoletos. He was phenomenally good in F2 last year. It was about this point last year that I said to a couple of friends who know nothing about Formula 2, if you want an easy bet, stick a fiver on Gabby to win the championship. He wasn't ahead at that point. And he did it. He was really, really impressive. And again, like you said, he's been in a tractor for the past 12 races. And he now hopefully has a car that he can show what he can do. He got into Q3, first time in Q3, outqualified his teammate, first points. Really, really impressive. Driver of the day. Yeah, I think he did a really, really great job, and long may that continue. And hopefully now he can kind of kick on and show what he can do. He's bedded into the team now. He knows what he's doing. He knows the car. The car is maybe a little bit more suited to him now with those upgrades. So fingers crossed he can kick on from here. And I mean, Hulkenberg is on 22 points, which is impressive actually when you think about it. Bortoletto's on four, but there's a couple of drivers ahead of him who I think are up for grabs. He is only 6 points behind Yuki Tsunoda, which is hilarious. Yeah,
That's
we'll leave that one open ended. Quick one then. The last couple of teams. Let's just get Haas out of the way. They were in the race.
Yes.
Moving on to Alpine. Gasly was also officially in the race, but Colapinto, despite fighting for nothing, was on TV quite a lot because he had a bit of a battle with Yuki, and then he decided to try and just, turn Oscar Piastri into a lawnmower. James, what did you make of, won't bother talking about Gasly, but Colapinto's race?
Yeah, it seemed like every time we cut to him, he was playing dodgems with Sonoda, and not always his fault either. I thought the first instance when Sonoda went down inside and turned for it, I thought Colin Pinto did a great job of not getting taken out at the apex because
Yeah.
Sonoda just threw it down. He did great to avoid the action. Then, how many times have we seen that at the exit of turn four that one car understeers, the other car thinks he's given enough space, and they spin round. And then yeah, the one with Oscar being lapped at turn three was I must admit I think it's a classic. I think it's unfortunate for Colapinto because you can 100% see why he's battling with Sonoda. They're doing the up and unders with each other, and then Piastri sat behind. I feel like that has to be on the team. If the team are not saying, by the way, Piastri is right behind you, then I think that's on them. And he obviously just didn't see him and just nicely eased him onto the grass, which could have been. I think he got a penalty for it, didn't he? He got a 5 second penalty for forcing another driver off the track, which I think is absolutely fair enough. But I think that's more on the team than anything else. They need to be really clear with him. I don't know if they were potentially they were with him, but yeah, unfortunately for him, it's one of those races that the only reason he's on the books is because bad things have been happening. So, but him and Snow had a great little battle for the last place on the road, which Colapinto won. So yeah, I think it's a tricky time for Alpine. They're last in the championship. The car does not seem to be working. Gasly did a great job getting into Q3. I think he qualified 10th, but putting on the softs at the start was not the right decision. They just went backwards. So yeah, how many races has Colapinto done now? Is this five? Is
That
this
was his
six?
five. That was his
That was
five.
his five.
Yeah.
So, and there's no news that I don't think there's any news that he's not driving in Britain.
No.
Not yet, but as we get
Not
on
yet.
I
to,
mean, it's
we'll get
only
on to,
Tuesday. That's
it
what
is
it's
only
for.
Tuesday,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
and
That is true. That is
because
true. Yeah.
because I'm hosting today, that'll be announced tomorrow because that's how life works on this podcast. The big news breaks the day after we record.
Yeah.
We'll get on to a bit of news in a minute, but just want to finish off with Williams and what was categorically their worst weekend in years, Coops.
Oh, it's ridiculously bad. And it's been ridiculously bad for a wee while now. This, I think, is the this is what happens when Williams basically said at the start of the season we're turning off our upgrades now, and we're going to do 2026 for the whole year. Other teams are bringing upgrades. I think they're stopping around about now. But the Williams car's pretty much the same car all season, and it's not going to get any better. Well, other cars are getting better. So they've done well at the start of the season. They've got a wee bit of a buffer in the constructors, but every team below them have upgraded and are doing better, aka Sauber. I think the only thing that's their saving grace is Lance Stroll still drives in Formula One, and the Haas doesn't seem to be doing much. At one UK Tsunoda. So that's helping, but yeah, when you get the Williams that can't start on the grid, then finally gets round to start on the grid, drives up to the end of the pit lane, and then both the rear brakes just decides to go no, and then that's
It looked like he'd been
that.
driving around that formation lap with his handbrake on.
It was bizarre. It was just like I got a message from Morgan, who's my son, likes Formula One, and I never watched the race live. I was busy, and he just says, "What the hell's going on? Why is Sainz's car on fire?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And then I watched it and went, "Neither do I know why that's on fire." And as soon as I saw the smoke going black, I'm like, "He's done." Like, because that's the black is the carbon fiber. That's not just like a wee bit of flame that's going to go away. And the fact that they sit at the end of the pit lane and just let it cook. It's just bizarre. And, we all like Williams. I think everybody really has a soft spot for them. They're the kind of only name now, not team. It's the only name that's been around for a long time. It's got history. McLaren, I suppose, are similar, but different. But yeah, Carlos Sainz is really disappointing. Yeah, at the minute, I was really excited to see him there. I thought they'd be doing really well. He can't get to grips with the car. So anyone who wants to badger and go on about Lewis Hamilton and he's lost it, let's have the same conversation with Carlos Sainz then. But yeah, it's a bad one, and I don't think they're going to get much better for the rest of the year.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a bad run of form, really bad run of form now for them. Where are they looking? They've gone. Yeah, sorry, James. Go
I
ahead.
was going to say, I thought Albon was unlucky though. I know he qualified, was it 12th, made up 6 positions at the start through the chaos and was running pretty well until he retired. Of course, that does, unfortunately, the order you crossed the line in the checkered flags, the way it counts. But I thought he was looking like he was going to get some points, just unfortunately. But do we know what his retirement was about? Because he obviously came to the pits, then 2 months later he was retired. But
Good question. I didn't actually see.
No, interestingly, on the from BBC, when they done the race review, actually they said the same. That we don't actually know why he retired.
yeah,
I'm assuming it's data. It's to do with power unit or the
I would
fact.
say so. That Mercedes engine is fragile this year in every car
Yeah,
except the McLaren, thankfully. But yeah, it's a bad run of form now. In the first 8 races, only 4 times between both cars did they not score points. There was retirement in Austria, 14th in Japan, 12th in retirement in Bahrain. But since Spain, 14th retired, 10th retired, did not start. That is an atrocious run of 3 races on tracks that should have suited that car. And they can only, you know, stick and pray that, Britain gets a bit better for them. If they have they have to get back to double point scores at their home race. They just have to. There's no two ways about that. And
yeah, it's one they
fingers
need to.
crossed they will, because the crowd will be behind them. You can be sure of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, James Vell's a popular figure. Every team goes through tough times. Look at Ferrari last summer; they were awful. But they'll hope that their summer turns around a little bit. That is our review as it was. Coops, do you want to remind us of our predictions for this race and how badly we did?
Okay, well, James can have a laugh because he wasn't here to predict. So, Tiller, we'll do him because he wasn't here for. He's not here. He's having some power issues at home. He wishes he was. Anyway, so Tiller, he went with Piastri on pole. Nah.
Mhm.
He went with Max won. Nah.
Oof.
Piastri in second. Ding, ding, ding. And
Nice.
Antonelli in third. Now,
Ooh.
well done. Two of the drivers he picked lasted 3 corners. Uh, make it even worse. The Williams get double points.
Ouch.
Wow. I think we're taking his point for that
Second
Piastri
place.
off him.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
get that no. Okay, Sean, you went with a Leclerc pole.
Oof. Ooh,
Russell
second, he was all
winning.
right.
No, no, no. Russell getting the win.
Oof. That was a wild one.
Yeah, that was a bad one. Lando getting second. No, not so much. Your victory was Leclerc getting third.
Hooray.
And your wild card was going to be fastest in FP1. Where did he come?
I'm claiming a half a point on that because he finished fourth.
No, but
And
it's
he
still
was
not one. Still not fastest. He was good, not fastest.
he was faster than 16 full-time Formula One, 15 full-time Formula One drivers.
That's not fastest. I went with Russell and Paul. Oh my God. Piastri taking the win. Not that bad. Russell in second. Dear God, no. Lando Norris getting third. However, I'm taking my win because I predicted a Max DNF.
Nice.
Ooh, very
No.
good.
So
Nicely
I got a
done.
good one. Got a good one there. So
I think, do
think
you win then? Is that overall? I think bold
Overall, I think
predictions
you
should get
win.
more, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think I'll go
yeah.
with that one. I think worst of all has to be Tiller when he had Antonelli, he had Max, and he had Williams for points.
Yeah,
I could not
that's
get much worse.
well, he's not here to defend himself, but Tiller, that was
He does
atrocious.
not have any defense, Your
There's
Honor.
no defense.
Seriously.
We'll do a quick touch on a little bit of news just coming out of this weekend. Not too much, but a fun rumor after his hilarious Cadillac video from last week, which I'm convinced was an announcement because there's no way in hell would Toto Wolff have let Valtteri do that video if there wasn't something to announce. There's now a rumor that Bottas is going to Alpine till the end of the year. James, yes or no?
Oh, blimey! I think a big fat no for both sides. To be honest, I think the only reason Bottas would do that is just because he just needs a bit of practice. That you like we spoke about before, like beforehand, he needs to have that seat confirmed if he's going to do that. Because why would you subject yourself to a dodgy car? If you make yourself look bad, you don't have a drive. I don't. I just say for Alpine, just leave it as it is. Just give Colapinto to the end of the year, see what happens.
Hmm.
Maybe, I would do it, but you never know about Valtteri thinks, might think, I just need to get back on the horse, as it were, and go for it. But I
Um,
wouldn't do that.
Coops, what do you make of this wild rumor? Which is
Well,
completely unsubstantiated, by the way, but there was a couple of sources
I'm
talking
going to
about it.
stop you there and we're going to rewind because while we were doing the chat, I was doing some left-handed Googling, as we do.
Nice.
And on the Formula One website, Alpine have actually checked Mercedes and Toto Wolff for Bottas's availability. It's confirmed Gabriel
Yes.
Bortoleto has said that they went, lads, Bottas, what's the deal? Now, not to say they're making a decision, because that's kind of caveated in the article that I quickly had a scan over. Basically, they're not making a decision, but they just want to know their options. So there is something there. It's not completely unsubstantiated. Whether it will happen or not is the other thing. But they have asked
But
and they have said, look, could we maybe, if we decide to, could we maybe come and have a chat with you? Toto Wolff apparently has said that he will not stop and he will not stand in Bottas's way. He's very much a fan of Valtteri. Says he's still got something to offer. He's still working at a really high level. I'm going to kind of go back on what we said before we started recording. I was thinking about this. I think Valtteri Bottas's stock is very high as a person, as a PR person, and as a driver. That even if he's in Alpine and really doesn't do particularly well, they'll be like, it's an Alpine, and they'll kind of brush over it. He's kind of like the new generation of Ricardo that he was for a while. Ricardo had a bit of credit in the bank and can get away with it a wee bit. I think Bottas will use the Alpine as a testing session just to get ready for the Cadillac drive, which he's already said.
It's interesting you say that, and I really need to dig this clip out because I said on this show a couple of months ago that if I was Cadillac, I would be choosing Bottas over Sergio Perez absolutely every single day of the week, and not just because I've never been a particularly big Sergio Perez fan. I actually think he'd do very well in a team like Cadillac. My reasoning for that is Valtteri Bottas is an extraordinarily active test driver for Mercedes, who are actively working on the next generation of Formula One cars. Sergio Perez is not doing anything this year at all, even remotely related to Formula One. Of those two
Oh,
on their own, whether Valtteri goes and gets a race seat to get him race sharp again for the rest of the year, which, how race sharp are you going to be fighting Yuki Tsunoda for last place?
but it's more,
Um,
I think it's more about physical stuff and just keeping your things
Possibly,
at,
yeah.
it's that thing of just keeping the brain active and just keeping himself in that routine of the weekends and the flying around and stuff. But Sergio Perez was only a good driver under very, very specific circumstances, and
Mm.
the car was a very specific sort of way. But things weren't quite right. He binned it and put it into the wall. I mean, the only time it was really well was when he won in Monaco and then lost his shoe in the harbour, and was that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And that kind of shows you uh, what I think of Sergio Perez. That the most defining memory I have of him was when he's getting carried down a yacht in Monaco with one shoe in his hand and the other one in the harbour, not about his racing. Uh, so, but Valtteri Bottas is just, I mean, getting away from the whole 2.0, I've had my porridge and all this, and I'm going to take it to Lewis Hamilton. Everyone was kind of like, yeah, no, you're not. It's fine. We know you're not. It's Lewis. Come on. He's good, and if Cadillac sign him, which they should do if they haven't already, they really need to lean into Valtteri and the tash and the hair and the kind of slight silliness and the
Mm.
things that he does.
Which I
They
think they'll be
really,
more than happy to do. That'll just appease the American audience so
oh yeah,
Yeah.
they'll
strongly.
love it, and
They'll
it takes
absolutely eat
that.
them up.
They'll take that pressure away from a new team in Formula One, just learning the ropes and just allowing Valtteri to be Valtteri and not to call, a bit like, what I said about Audi, don't come out with any stupid goals that in the next 5 years we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Just come in, let Valtteri be Valtteri, see if you can get a few points, get
If
competitive.
I was Cadillac, I'd be looking at this like Audi are. They have their seasoned veteran who's never been on the podium, but they have their seasoned veteran and they have their exciting rookie. Cadillac, get your Valtteri Bottas, your seasoned veteran who has won multiple races,
Hmm
10 races I think he's won, which is more than
Yeah.
And
almost every driver in history.
extremely good with the feedback and
Very, very
technical.
good feedback. He's been in development work all year for the so far for next year's car already, so he knows them. He knows what to expect. And you borrow Alex Dunn from McLaren because let's be honest, nobody's taking Richard for sure. He's been in Formula Two for 5 years and now might win the championship. Whoop-de-doo.
Mm.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
it's just not impressive at all.
no,
Um,
definitely not.
Alex Dunn, if he finishes
Yeah.
second as a rookie, deserves a Formula One seat, no questions whatsoever. And I'm not just saying that because I'm biased, but that just should be how Formula Two works. And if I was Cadillac, that's who I'd be looking at. And an Irishman in an American car, the Americans will love him. They'll
Oh, yeah, of
absolutely
course I
love.
do.
A weird guy with a mustache and a mullet and an Irish boy. That is that. If you can't get an American driver, that is the next best lineup.
Oh,
Um,
St. Patrick's Day in Boston's gonna be
oh,
Yeah.
loving life,
that
innit?
will be the launch. That'll have
When is
Oh,
St. Patrick's Day?
17th of March, right after
Oh,
right before the
it's
start
a
of the
little
season.
bit late, a little bit late for like the launch because that would have been
They'll
fantastic to do
definitely
like
do
a
something of it, but like the
yeah.
Grand Prix in Texas, Miami, Vegas. Oh, oh, I'm getting excited now. I need to go to Texas next year. Anyway, that will do. Oh, sorry. Last bit of news. The F1 movie opened obviously officially this weekend, and it has grossed just shy of $150 million, making it, I believe, Brad Pitt's biggest movie opening ever, which is
and he
ridiculous.
acted in a film called Seven, which is just so good. Anyone who's young who hasn't seen the film, as long as you're 18 and over, because it's a bit dark, go
Yeah, it's
watch
good
it.
though.
Go find out what's in the box.
I can't imagine Seven had quite the
The
marketing
budget.
budget as F1 movie,
No,
but yeah, which seems to be
possibly not.
plastered on every single Grand Prix this year. So,
Yes.
um,
But we did our full review of it last week. Myself and Taylor were at our various premieres last week. So our review is up on YouTube and up on all listening platforms. So if you haven't seen it yet, maybe give that review just a miss for now because there's lots of spoilers in it. But if you have seen it, head on over. We'll link to it in the description below of everything. Head on over and let us know your thoughts of the F1 movie if you have now seen it. That'll do it for us for our Austria review. We'll be back in the next couple of days, very, very soon, with our British Grand Prix preview, because obviously that is coming up this coming weekend on July the 6th. Back-to-back races. We'd love to see it. But that'll do it from us for Austria. Thank you very much to Coops.
Yeah, just before we go, Austria's been extended to 2041.
Awesome
Don't
news
see
as
why
well.
not.
We'll all be
Awesome news,
very
brilliant
old.
track.
Yeah.
Had to be done.
Yeah. I'll hold on to my best race of the season so far. And thank you very much to James. Great to have you back.
Yeah, appreciate it. Good fun. Good fun chatting a bit of Formula One.
Good fun indeed. We've been Everything F1. Check us out on all socials. Check out our website, everythingf1.com, and head over to theraceworks.com and use code EF1 at checkout for 10% off your motorsport merch site wide. Thank you, and we'll chat to you in the next one.